Well, hello and welcome back to the Gorilla Biker. Today what we're going to be doing is changing the oil on a Kawasaki Z900RS. These are all pretty much the same, almost the same as lots of other Japanese bikes, but it's been requested and I need to do it, so I'm going to show you. The bike has been pre-warmed. That is important. You want to have your oil nice and warm, just helps it drain from the engine a little bit better. If you have to do it cold for some reason, it's not going to hurt anything. Don't worry about it. Don't panic. The Z is there, by the way. I'm just tall, so I can't show you at the same time because I don't have a stool for the garage yet. Hey, give it up. Currently, there's lots of boxes behind me for parts that came for the Valkyrie. Anywho, what we're going to be putting into the bike is Motul 7100 fully synthetic. It's an oil I've been using for a long time. Road and track base is absolutely fine, and we're also going to be installing a high flow racing filter. So that's a HF303. Basically, apparently, just flows a bit better. Which obviously, because I do plan on using the Z on track again this year, I will be installing that. So without further ado, we'll get down on the ground so I can show you how to remove the sump bolt and then the filter. Oh, actually, quick point to note. I say Z when it's on its own. I don't usually say Z, but if I say the full name, it's Z900RS. Some people have asked about that. I don't know why my brain says words the way it does. It just does. Don't question it. It's just how it is. So, through the magic of television, I can already tell you that the sump plug bolt is a 17. You're going to want something to drain your oil into, and probably a pair of gloves to take off the filter because it's quite close to the headers and you don't want to melt your hands off. Or maybe you do, in which case, go right ahead, I won't stop you. So here we are down here, 17 already on the sump plug, and that's our oil filter. I'm going to try remove this first. Not the easiest with one hand, but we made it happen. So usually you want to kind of position your oil catch in the direction of spray, and I'm guessing we're going to spray this way. See, that was even nearly not enough. We just about caught it. I'll wipe up that later. So I'm going to let that drain, which is looking a little bit murky. I actually don't know what oil was in this before I bought it. I bought it with fresh oil in it, and I used said fresh oil. So I'm going to let that drain, and then we're going to whip this off. So I'll be back. Actually, the oil, when you see it here through the light, looks rather clean. So am I changing it early? Probably a little bit. It hasn't done that much miles, but just because I didn't know what oil it was, and also obviously I've done a track day, I wanted to get it out of there. It just made sense. And occasionally I do things that make sense. While we wait for that to finish draining, this is the washer that came off of it. Looks like it's been used quite well. I don't know what material it is, probably aluminium. And we are replacing it with a copper, come on, focus, copper crush washer. So there's our brand new one on there. Generally, I will try to get one that's kind of wider than the bolt head, but this is all I have in stock right now, so that's what we're going with. We will not be putting it back in yet. I do want to get the oil filter out of there first. So let's give that a go. Like I said, you should wear gloves at this really, but I'm interested to see how bad it's going to be. You don't want to make an enemy of everyone who comes after you. Tighten these this much. There's no need for this to be this tight. This might require the old hammer and a screwdriver trick. Okay, you stopped recording, I'm not sure why. So all I've been doing is just knocking this through. So once you're through to the other side, which you'll hear, you can start turning your screwdriver like so, and that will loosen off your oil filter enough that you should be able to let it drain and then unscrew it by hand. But this one was extremely tight. Main thing here is just obviously be careful with the oil. You don't want to get the oil absolutely everywhere. Just let it drain, and then we should be able to get this off. So yeah, that is the screwdriver method. A little bit inelegant, but it does work really well. Okay, I think we've finally broken the insane friction this thing had on it. Yay. There you go. I really hope this is not the original filter, because it does say Kawasaki on it. I hope that it's not the original. Hopefully. So yeah, what I'm going to do is let this drain for a while, drink a cup of tea, and come back and clean it up. What I'm also going to do is drop the bike down onto its side stand to make sure that all the oil did get out the way it wants to get out. You absolutely do not need to drop it down onto its side stand. I just want to make sure that I get every last bit out of there. And usually there'll be like a little smidgeroo kind of left in there, and it nearly seems to be. I'm gonna go forward, yeah, so I'm just gonna pop it down onto its side stand to make sure that everything is actually out. Because that does seem to be that it's set up to kind of drain at that angle. So now I'm just gonna let it drain for a little bit, and we'll come back and finish off the job. Okay, so we've now been draining for a while. As you can see, there's still 1 or 2 drips coming out. That's okay, you don't need to worry about that too much. I'm just gonna roll this back in here with the new washer. Finger tight, give it all a wipe off around. And then what we're gonna do is get the new filter, after we just make sure that everything around the filter seat's cleaned, which, to be honest, it was so bloody tight it could not be. So then with our filter, it has a package on it, as you can see, which, let me take that off. When you take that off, as you can see, it is pre-lubed, that filter, but I don't care. What I'm gonna do is dip my finger in here and rub it a little bit extra on there just to make sure. So I'm gonna do that now. So there we go, some nice fresh oil on there. I don't pre-fill my filters because I think it's stupid. Some applications it might make sense, but not for this one. So then when we're putting this on, we're gonna spin it backwards, like anti-clockwise, till it drops onto the threads. Then we're gonna spin it on like so. And then you just wanna, like, when it tightens up, just do like a quarter turn. That's tight enough. You don't need to hang off this thing. You want to be able to take it off next time. And as you can see, you do also have the nice hole here if you want to wire this closed. So you can wire from here up to here, whatever, which I might do, you know, since I'll be using it on track, we'll see. Then don't forget, once you have this done, you do want to tighten up this bolt. And again, I don't hang off these. This one does obviously have a torque spec. I just do them hand tight. I've never ever had an issue with that. I will probably also eventually put like a race bolt on here so we can wire tie that as well. Probably wire tie these two together or something. That should do it. So now what we're going to do is fill this bike with oil. So once you have your bike on a level plane, so you want it. This is standing straight up. I'm not standing up again, I'm old. What we're gonna do is we're gonna fill it up to this upper mark on the window here. And yes, I'm gonna replace this. This wasn't me. Through this hole here, which, oh my God, this is so tight too. There we go. That was easy. What we're gonna do now is fill it up to this upper mark. When it hits that upper mark, we're gonna start the engine, let the oil cycle around and fill the oil filter, and then we'll top it off. So first, the fill. Okie dokie.
That actually looks lower on the phone. So I'm going to top this up here, and then we're going to start the bike. But basically, this is kind of what you want to see. And on the final fill, I always go slightly below the top mark, just because you know, you have to account for like the bike might be slightly off center or whatever else. I never overfill. Like once you're in this window, you're good. You don't want it down here, obviously, but you also don't want it like where you can't see the top of the line. So we'll start it up now, and then let it run for a minute or two. What's going to happen is you won't be able to see this when it's running because the oil will be cycling. When you let the bike run for 30 seconds to a minute, shut it off, and then let it rest for, you know, a couple of minutes. Literally walk away, sit down for 5 minutes, come back and see where this has settled out to. And then top it up as you need.
So once it's shut off, let it rest for a couple of minutes. So let it a little break. So to try show you the stated level of oil for this with an oil filter is 3.8 liters, which is pretty much all of that. So after starting it up and letting it sit, we're about there. So we do need to top it up just a smidge. Like I said, this bike is slightly not center, so it doesn't fall over. So I'm probably going to fill it up to about halfway and check it. But that's pretty much all you need to do. Start it, let it rest, check it, touch it up. Take your time, never overfill it. Simple as that. That is us topped up. We're just below full. You know, I could add a smidge more there, which I might. But basically, once you're here, you're good. So now I'm going to go back to the main camera to finish off this video. That is more better. So that is how you change the oil and oil filter on a Kawasaki Z900RS. I will be doing the air filter next. I have a Canon to go in there, which will be a lot easier to show you. It's quite difficult to video stuff when you're lying on the ground, especially since my camera person is bettering herself doing college, and I have to video myself again, which you know, it's just rude. But yes, if you're balancing the bike like I did, I actually had a 2x4 with two old brake pads underneath the side stand. That's how I was balancing the bike up to get it as close to center as possible. Basically, when you think you're topped up, always leave it under and get someone even to hold the bike straight for you so you can check that final level. If you can, or else just leave it slightly under. Never overfill. It's easier to add oil than it is to remove it, and that's a fact. It's one of those old man phrases that, you know, when you're younger you're like and then you overfill something once and you're like So yeah, don't overfill. Don't overfill. Like I said, easier to add than it is to remove. Other than that, then, so for instance, this bike says that it is 3.8 liters with an oil filter change, but that is with a standard Kawasaki oil filter. Different oil filters, even from and who makes the Kawasaki one? It's Denso. So it's not Kawasaki, don't make them. We'll get to that in a second. But basically, always go by your actual oil sight glass or oil dipstick if you have a dipstick on your bike or whatever. Never just measure 3.8 and throw it in there, because it's very likely to be either slightly too much or slightly too little. Just because tolerancing, you know, you got tolerance stack up throughout the engine, and you got tolerance stack up with your measurement jug and also your oil filter. So just go by your sight glass. Every bike is ever so slightly different, or dipstick if you have a dipstick. What oil should you use? Whatever it says in the manufacturer book. Like I said, I use 10W40 Motul 70-100. That's just an oil I've had very good success with. It's never hurt my bikes. My bikes tend to like it. I did actually switch back to 50-100 with the V-Strom because it does prefer semi-synthetic. Someone said that and they were right. But yeah, that's kind of it really. It's quite a straightforward job. If you didn't like the screwdriver through the oil filter, tough. It's the most effective way to remove a stuck oil filter if you don't have an oil filter wrench, which I don't. Generally my hands are enough, especially once I'm the one who's actually done the change, because I tend not to over tighten things. And yeah, that's kind of it really. Hopefully you found this helpful. If you own a Z900RS or pretty much any Japanese motorcycle, they're all almost identical to this, but people ask for the specific videos, so I do them because it's a service I provide. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed it. If you watched it, thank you very much. If you're one of my patrons, thank you even more much. You're all great and I do appreciate your support, as you all know. And yeah, until next time, thank you very much for watching. I have to go edit this now and then hopefully some Ride 5, because I'm away for the weekend, so yeah, adios. Outro crew. What is your least favourite bike you've ever changed oil on? Harleys look like a pain in the ass, to be honest. This is like the easiest job in the world. It's just kind of time consuming when you're filling the oil and whatnot to, you know, to do it properly. Yeah, what's the bike you ever owned that you liked working on the least? Let me know. Bye, Outro crew.